relationship with them. Is this one here. Most of them abandoned me, but we are still friends. So Churchill, I think the president of the Kenya Editors Guild, Lawrence Pintack, the Dean, AKU, GSMC, and all other distinguished guests and all other, I think everybody who is present here, I think all of you are friends, and all of you are, have your significant role that you play. Now, I'll start by telling you my experiences and why I think what we are doing here today is actually a turning point in the development of journalism in this country. The best time, when I mentioned this to the Dean, the best time I've enjoyed my stay on this planet is when I was a student. It's the best time, you know. Life is easy. You come and sit here, 2 hours, and you go back, and you have all the time to do other things. I think that's where we get it wrong, because life is very easy when you are a student, when you are in class, because all you are required to do is get a few concepts right, and then you have your paper. I think what you are doing today, the MOU you are signing with Kenya Editors Guild and the university, is actually a step in the right direction, because we need to bring the academia with the practice. And that's a problem we have when we hire students. At the NMG, we sometimes in, I think, around 2009 or there, we started what we call a media lab, because we had difficulties with journalists. Everybody had his own perception of what journalism is all about. And the same thing happens here. The students will go to class, but when they go to the field, they actually have their own perception, their own understanding of what they need to do. And then as media managers, we have the battles every day, because some journalists have interpreted journalism in their own style, and in the process, we've had a very significant misrepresentation. At the beginning, when I joined this business, I was told media and journalism are a prerequisite for economic development and democracy. And I couldn't see how this was important. But I think by now I really understand, and I know most of you should know this, because if media is core to democracy and is core for economic development, if you remember, our former president used to say, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. So you determine the future, or you determine the lives of your people. So you must have a sober media. If the media is not sober, then you know the lives of your people is in chaos. So what has happened? Over time, media has significantly changed. At NMG, early last year, not last year, but late last year, we started a journey to address the digital transformation. And we launched a digital brand, Nation.Africa. We didn't know where we were going or what it meant, but we tried to learn. We knew that there's a change in the media world, and we need to change with the changing times. One of the biggest learnings was that the audiences had moved on and they were ahead of us. We were trying to catch up. So I think it's important for the curriculum. I hope this partnership, this MOU will help in terms of ensuring that the curriculum that is being developed for journalism is actually adaptive to the changing media landscape because the audiences are ahead of us. Then early this year, we launched a paywall. Again, we discovered that unlike what we expected, that there'll be a lot of resistance, a lot of our expectations will not be met. Our targets, which we set ourselves for the beginning of the year, are almost actually being overtaken because we are almost about 4 months since we launched our paywall. And the number of subscribers has actually exceeded our expectation. We have already almost achieved what we set to achieve at the end of the year. So what that is telling us is the landscape has changed. And really, I think this MOU should actually have brought in all the other players because, you know, as back in the industry, you have the union, you have all organizations, you have the media owners, you have the Editors Guild, and the relationship has not been it has been a relationship that has been destructive. We need to build this relationship starting from the institution itself because we also have the minds of the journalists and the editors. They also have their minds. So you bring all these people and you're telling them to achieve one objective, but they don't. The media owners realize this. Actually, we find it very tough sometimes because you are putting together a team of people, some who purport to be experts in areas that I have no knowledge about, and some who have different aspirations. And there are some who really know what needs to be done, what will help us achieve economic development and build democracy. I think this partnership will help us achieve this because at a very early stage, when you are still in the school, you'll be able to interact with the industry and you'll be able to understand actually what you thought you are doing is not right. Things are done differently. Because at the end of the day, we want to transform society. We want to make our people better. We want to make the society greater than we found it. And that can only be achieved if there is mutual appreciation and mutual understanding of what the end game is all about. Now, earlier on, Churchill mentioned that the Editors Guild in April resolved to put in place a framework for continuous professional development. I think that is very important. That's very important in this profession because we've seen it working well in other professions because most of the time when you leave the classroom, you find your knowledge is not growing with the pace of the changing world. So I really encourage us to do that and make sure that the program, the framework is developed to global standards so that it's respectable and everybody aspires to actually meet all the requirements for the framework because if we don't have a good professional development scheme, professional development program, then we'll have problems. Now, if you take and it's good you have the medical profession here. If you look at how medicine students are trained, the first and second year, they spend some time in class and the lab. The third year, all the way to sixth year, they spend most of the time in the hospitals. I think we need to have that kind of a program where the students don't spend all the time in the classroom because eventually they are working for the industry. So you should spend more than half of the time out there in the industry. And as media owners, we will welcome them and we would like to actually give them that opportunity to do what needs to be done. The other thing I wanted to mention is the media industry has gone through a lot of significant changes. In the last 2 years, we've had all manner of adjustments. I think it's because we did not keep pace with the changing landscape. That's why we had to retrench people. I remember I had to keep begging my friend, so please, we're just sending this 50. And I hope you are okay. Yeah? Don't make a lot of noise, yeah? So we kept having those problems. I think that was not necessary. There's quite a lot that we can do, and we can see it through social media. Social media keeps telling us that there's a gap, and we are trying to fill that gap. By creating that gap, that's why social media has become so vibrant and has set the tone and the pace of discussions in most of the places in the world. If you go to some of the economies, you find that social media exists, but it doesn't set the tone. It doesn't set the agenda. I think in this part of the world, we've left everything to social media. So I hope that with this partnership, we'll make sure that the profession continues to be more innovative, and we have strategic leadership. Yeah, we need to have more media people leading the media, more journalists leading media houses. Journalists fear. I don't know why. You don't train them on media leadership.
We do. We have a master's degree in
that. So we need to see most of the media houses being led by journalists. Yeah, that's very important. Yeah. Because you've left the leadership to outsiders like myself. And sometimes they don't understand something, you know. You know, there's something they don't appreciate. So in the process, you feel like you are being oppressed, or you feel like there's something not right. The dean earlier on talked of 601. So I have a benchmark.
64,000.
I have a benchmark. No, use dollars. Yeah,
Okay.
I have a benchmark now because it's not a good thing. Nobody wants to be underpaid. Let me tell you. We all want to be paid good pay, good salaries, because our peers are moving ahead, and that's why we eventually attempted into taking some small handouts.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we need this industry to pay, and there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money in the industry, which actually, if we harness it, if we create reasonable professional standards, that money will come to us, and the issues of people getting paid 64,000 will be a thing of the past. In other professions, I think you get 64,000 on the first 1 month, then after 2 months, you cannot, 64,000 becomes irrelevant. You have to go to a higher level. I think as I want to finish, I want to remind you to please remain loyal to the Code of Practice for Journalism. And at the core of this code is responsibility and commitment to the public interest. We do all these things for the public. And we must continue guarding our media freedom. And our media freedom remains supreme, remains superior, regardless of all the challenges that we experience. So I'll end there, and I hope this will be just the beginning, and we'll see better things going forward. Thank you. Thank you very much.